Hello and welcome to today's virtual career community. We are excited to have you with us. For those of you that are new to this, I will introduce myself. My name is Marnie Holder. I'm the Director of Career Summits for Hiring Our Heroes. And I'll do a few admin housekeeping remarks up front just to let you know how this session is going to work. If you are a participant and would like to have a question posed to our panel of experts today, if you could put it in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen, not the chat feature. I know it's tempting to get in the chat, but let's put it in the Q&A feature. That way it gets to our panel members today. And if you do miss this session in its entirety, it's going to be recorded and it will be found on our virtual career community on our webpage. So you can go there and view it again or share that with somebody else that happens to miss it. Today's session is focused on engineering and technology in preparation for our upcoming session later this week in STEM. So I just wanted to flag, if you are participating today and you haven't registered for that event, please do that. We have over 27 companies and over 10,000 jobs being represented at that event. And all of these events that we do host and give the opportunity to share with you would not be possible without our awesome sponsors. So I did want to give a special shout out to Toyota, Brazen Technology, Capital One, Booz Allen Hamilton, and Microsoft for making today's event possible. All right, without further ado, I want to jump right in to the reason why we're here today and our awesome panel, like I said, of true experts. These are leading companies who are hiring our heroes and committed to those who serve and military spouses. So I want to turn it over to Brian Armstrong, who is a veteran himself and representing Spectrum today. So Brian, I will turn it over to you to introduce yourself, and then we'll have our other panel members follow.
Thank you, Marnie. Like Marnie had mentioned, my name is Brian Armstrong. I'm the manager of military programs here at Spectrum. I transitioned out of the Marine Corps in 2015 and have since then been in talent acquisition in some function, one way or the other. Today, I have the opportunity to lead Spectrum's commitment to our military community. A little bit about Spectrum is we are the second largest internet provider in the United States, one of the fastest growing cable providers. We span 41 states. We have about 98,000 employees that span all 41 states. The one thing that probably sticks out to you and sticks out to me as well is that we have about 10,000 individuals within the organization that have a military affiliation. So they're either veterans, military spouses, reservists, or transitioning service members at all levels within the organization. So whether you're interested in an apprenticeship or you're looking to leverage those leadership skills that you're transitioning out with, we invite you to explore Spectrum at jobs.spectrum.com. So with that being said, I'd like to hand it over to JJ with Stryker.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brian. Hello, everybody. My name is Jacqueline Jarl. I go by JJ, and I lead Stryker's military recruiting program. Stryker is a medical device company, and we have offices all over the country. We are a global company, but for our military talent, we do have offices in every region of the country. So regardless of where you're trying to go, we could probably find a right fit for you. We also have a lot of remote roles that are available. Our customer base, we are in hospitals and surgery centers. So as you can imagine, we do have a lot of employees who work remotely from home until they need to go to a customer site. I started with Stryker in our technical supply chain, working on managing the supply chain for R&D in our San Jose, California office. And I've been in my current department, military recruiting, for almost 4 years. Before I joined Stryker, I spent 5.5 years in Army intelligence. And looking forward to answering everybody's questions and chatting with everybody at the career fair later this week. And with that, I will pass it over to Rick.
All right, good afternoon. Thank you, JJ. My name is Rick Barbrody. I'm the Senior Manager of Global Talent Acquisition at SBA Communications. Prior to SBA, I was a warrant officer, Navy diver for the U.S. Navy for 20 years. SBA Communications is the world's largest tower company. You know, we have towers all over the world, and we rent our towers to um, Verizon, Sprint, Dish Network, you name it, so we could have better signals. Which this is what is allowing us to communicate today and be able to see each other and hear each other. SBA has been around for 30 years. We in 2020 received awards for diversity, best company for diversity, for women in leadership roles, work-life balance, benefits, and overall happiness. So it's a phenomenal company. I've been here for a little bit over a year, and it's a great, awesome company. So thank you for having me, and looking forward to our conversations.
Awesome. Thank you, JJ, and thank you, Rick. So let's go ahead and start the conversation. We like this to be free-flowing. So like Marnie had mentioned earlier, if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A box, and we'll definitely jump on those. So let's go ahead and start off with COVID. That's the elephant in the room. COVID has only fueled what is already a high demand for tech skills. What do you feel like is a long-term outlook for your field? And let's go ahead and start with JJ.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Definitely, I think for med device, you know, we are impacted, or we were impacted by COVID, but I think a lot of us were able to pivot, you know, fairly successfully. I think specifically, you know, I can only speak to Stryker, obviously, but, you know, to Stryker, we have come up with a lot of emergency authorization use, such as, you know, our new emergency use bed. We were able to transform some of our, some of the products that we use for surgeries. So all sterilized masks, togas, things like that. We were able to very quickly, of course, our engineers, you know, very quickly transform them into a non-surgical product and be able to use that to help with the COVID surge and pass out PPE, you know, be able to provide PPE to our healthcare providers. And I think with, you know, the change in technology, you know, not just with COVID, obviously, but just the world, the technology is changing so quickly and you know, advancing so quickly. It's just something that is always going to be a need, right, for the business, especially in med device. We're always looking to see how we can better the lives of patients and how we can better help with giving our healthcare providers what they need in order to administer care to our patients.
That's great. How about yourself, Rick?
Yeah, I mean, very similar to what JJ said. We at SBA had to honestly learn on the fly. It's a company that was not used to remote workforce, but due to COVID, it was something that we had to get used to really fast. And what is amazing is that we didn't skip a beat, to the point where now over 70% of our staff is remote globally, and we're doing everything humanly possible to get folks back. We believe that, you know, the camaraderie is stronger at the office than it is remote, and so in doing that, we're putting a lot of things in all the offices around the world, where if you come in and you don't, you know, your temperature is a little bit hot, an alarm's going to go off. We have staff that's cleaning every 5 minutes all over, so that folks feel safe. Obviously, social distancing is being done, and everybody has to wear a mask. I left the office, literally took one step, and I got chewed out because I didn't have my mask on. So they take it seriously, and but we're still thriving, and we're still growing as a business, you know, and trying to adapt in this new environment.
Awesome. And I can tell you here at Spectrum, as a telecommunications company, could we only imagine today's world without internet? Could we only imagine without having cell phones? And similar to Rick and JJ, our organizations, we didn't skip a beat. We figured out what we needed to do. We had our limits tested. So everything from the technician that troubleshoots and installs services within commercial spaces or private homes to the engineers that are maintaining our infrastructure, we figured it out. And, there's a silver lining. We discovered silver linings in this, not only from a systems perspective, what is our capabilities, but also from a personnel perspective. We actually grew as a company to better support and maintain our infrastructure. So Rick, I'll hand this one to you first. So with your organization, what are some of the high demand needs at this time? What are the roles that you're looking for, and maybe some of those locations that you're looking to hire those individuals into?
Yeah, Brian, thanks. Honestly, because we didn't skip a beat, because we're also in telecom, and we're our folks are frontline workers going out there, and climbing those towers to ensure that the signals, stay strong. And then here in Boca Raton in South Florida, where our corporate office is, and to support those folks, we have everything from IT, finance, in HR, marketing, and obviously in the field, we got tower climbers, and a lot of those folks are veterans that have transitions and going to Airstreams and warriors for wireless. So, whether we have a position open or not, if we find that you're an A player and someone who's strong in any way, shape, or form, we'll hire you. We are going fast and furious, and eventually, whether we have a position available right now or we'll have to make one up, we will not let somebody go just because we don't have a position for that individual, especially transitioning out of the military.
Definitely. Quality candidates is something that every organization is going to fight for. So how about over there at Stryker, JJ?
Yeah, so here at Stryker, I think engineering roles are always in demand. I think that's just across, the workforce at this point. So any type of engineering, and at Stryker, we design, manufacture, and sell our own equipment. So when you're talking about design engineers, we're talking about, every engineering discipline, because we make everything from, capital equipment to things that require software. So mechanical engineers, biomedical, electrical engineers, software engineers, and those roles are mainly going to be attached to an office location. Also manufacturing engineers, we do manufacture our own products. So we have, a lot of those needs at our office locations. If you're looking for a remote role, we do have some remote engineering roles available, whether it's, sales engineering team, or maybe it's on our maintenance and service team. Again, maintenance and service normally, regularly is in hospitals and at our customer sites. We do also have a lot of technician roles that are also remote roles. So whether you're going to install a product or you're going to service a product at a customer sites, and those roles are nationwide. They're not location restricted.
Awesome. And here at Spectrum, I would say there's all roles are high demand, I guess you would say at the end of the day. So whether you're an individual that's looking at a technician level role and you maybe are new to telecommunications, we have an apprentice program that allows you to step into that. Those roles, you start from home and you end at home. Like, it's not necessarily you're tethered to a desk. you're out in the field, or if you're looking for a ISP engineer, which is an inside plant, these individuals work inside the plant to maintain our signal or our infrastructure, design engineers as well. So I would just say, depending on your skill set, definitely explore, but any type of engineer roles, technician roles are definitely in high demand. For us here at Spectrum, those roles usually sit in Texas. Well, the largest places are Texas, California, the Orlando, Tampa area, and then the Carolinas going up into New York. So Marnie, it looks like we have a couple questions in the Q&A box. Do you want to jump over to those?
Yeah, let's jump in and answer a few of those. All right, the first one is, from your perspective, how early is too early in applying for positions? This individual doesn't retire for another 18 months. With that said, in the COVID environment, are companies still hiring engineers because of the downslide in manufacturing? Who wants to jump on that?
I can jump on that.
All right, very good.
I can. So it's kind of a loaded question, so there's some that will tell you, I think the higher level role that you're applying to, so when you get into senior management, VP level type roles, you definitely want to apply further out versus if it's maybe a technician role or individual contributor type role. It's no more than 90 days prior, which I know as a transitioning service member that can be nail biting, but typically those roles we want to fill them immediately, versus with senior level roles up to 6 months. It could take up to 6 months to be able to fill those types of roles.
Yeah, and can I just add, if you are that far out, 18 months, my recommendation is that you look for an internship program such as the corporate fellowship program. That ultimately is your way into an organization, because you've kind of proven that you can do the job and you can transition out of the military successfully. Strikers participated in that in 2018, and our conversion rate is like over 70%. So it's a very high internship to full-time conversion rate. And I strongly recommend you look into that if you are that far out.
That's a great point, JJ. And I know Brian and Spectrum, they've been very active in the fellowship program as well. So Brian, why don't you tell us some of your recent success stories and just what Spectrum's participation is?
Yeah, definitely. So we actually participate at several different levels and several different locations. We host for network engineers, ISP engineers, which are inside plant engineers, as well as program managers with an IT background. We've got a couple that work within our customer care centers, which most people would assume that within a call center, but there's actually troubleshooting. These individuals will assist our technicians out in the field and have to be able to troubleshoot, so that does have an IT component to it. But I'm proud to share that actually the beginning of last year, we successfully hired our first ISP engineer. She came out of Fort Hood, and she's working in Waco, Texas. So we've had some great success with the program. And to echo JJ, like definitely you want to take advantage of those programs to really learn and engage, because it allows the company to know what skill sets that you come with, but also allows you to learn that company as well and understand their culture and whether or not it's a fit for you post-transition.
Excellent, thanks. That is a good overview. All right, the next question: what are the qualities that military and veterans have from service that companies want, but the member doesn't necessarily think to mention? Rick, I'll toss that to you first.
Honestly, it's the to sum it up, I would say the attitude of getting things done, and respect and innovation, being able to follow orders, and honestly not give excuses on the why it can't be done. you know, and so to us it's second nature, but in the civilian sector that means a lot. So those values and those core values that we have instilled in our DNA means a lot in the civilian sector.
Yeah, I can add to that.
JJ.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of different cultures, you know, within each organization. And I think for people coming out of the military, you know, we are very mission driven. And that's, you know, a great fit with a lot of different companies, Stryker to be included. And also very team oriented. Everything, you know, is done at a team, and we know that with different experiences, with more diverse teams, there's better business outcome. That's, you know, studies have been done on this, and it's proven that more diverse teams reach better outcomes. So we, you know, I think coming from the military, you being a veteran, you're already very diverse in your experience compared to, you know, civilians and people who have not been in the military. So that in itself kind of brings that other lens, right, to the business, which is very highly valued for many different businesses.
And I'll just say it's our intangible skill sets. You know, while, especially because we're talking about IT, and there's obviously some skill sets that organizations are looking for you to bring, but you think about it, respect to policy, you respect to following procedures, the ability to be respectful, the ability to maintain bearing in, you know, in stressful situations. Like, that's what they want. We can teach the skill sets to you for the most part. But those that have the drive to be successful is really what our organizations are looking for. So let me look. We got some great questions coming in. So Paul has a question. You mentioned engineering. I attempted a BS in engineering and felt that I had the right aptitude. It was too much of a workload for a senior leader member within with a family of four, so I ended up completing in mathematics. What is your advice for someone like me to get into an engineering realm? JJ, do you want to take that by chance?
Sure. Yeah, so I will say if it depends on what type of engineering you're trying to do. If, you know, you're trying to be a design engineer in electrical engineering, we would require you to have that electrical engineering background, but we do have a lot of engineering roles that is not specific to a discipline. So that would be the type of roles that you should be looking at. For example, quality engineering, right? Like, we hire pretty much anybody who has engineering experience and or background and hard science as well into those types of roles. They're more focused on like process improvement and a little bit on like manufacturing. So if you have like lean certification, for example, that would also help you to get into those non-specific engineering type roles.
Awesome. Rick, did you want to add to that, or are you good?
I'm good. I mean, it's same
Okay.
guy.
Alrighty. So Jason's got a question here for Spectrum. What opportunities as far as roles are you looking to fulfill in California? Also, does Spectrum offer entry-level roles for network engineering? So it ultimately it depends on the team, but you know, entry-level is kind of a mixed bag. So technically, you can't really get into network engineering unless you have either the education component or you have some type of understanding, and it's not just a role that you step right into. So if you come from, maybe if you're in the Army, you know, and the 25 series background, that's considered experience. Marines, you know, if you come from the comm background, so on and so forth, that's considered a little bit of experience. So at the end of the day, you know, I think you have to connect with the organization. You know, here at Spectrum, we have military recruiters, and just have that conversation with somebody, understand what they're looking for, but also look at the job requisition or the job posting. That's going to tell you exactly whether or not it's a match for you, essentially. Let's see, what else do we have? JJ, I'll send this to you because you mentioned the fellowship earlier. Let's talk about how do we participate in the fellowship. And well, the fellowship and the apprentice program are two different things. So we'll talk about fellowship first for our organization. So JJ, would you like to go?
Okay, yeah. So I'm assuming this is, you know, from the candidate's perspective. So if you're transitioning, how do you participate? And then I'll cover kind of on the company side, how do you participate as well? But if you are a transitioning service member, you have to sign up to participate in the Cobra Fellowship Program or any internship program provided, you know, offered by the government. The first thing you need to do is probably talk to either your transition office or your education center. I think different posts, different installations have different people that are in charge of it. And once you figure that out, transition office is probably a good start. And once you get the contact for the program managers on the Hiring Our Heroes side for the Corporate Fellowship Program, they'll go through, you know, the list of requirements that you need to meet, including commander's approval, you know, all of that. And then you'll get signed up with a cohort because they run 3 cohorts a year. So you get signed up with a cohort and then your resume will be released to the group of host employers who have signed up to participate. And then as a company, if you want to participate as a host employer, you need to reach out to one of the program managers. It's location specific for the program managers. So you can reach out to the program managers and they'll kind of run you through what you need at the company in order to become a host employer. And I believe if you go to Hiring Our Heroes' website, you can find more information on how to sign up, both as an employer and as an intern, a fellow is what they call it.
And I'll add to that is I know Hiring Our Heroes does information sessions where you could jump on the calls, and employers like us, like, you know, have 10 minutes and we tell you what type of roles we're offering to our fellows, and you can learn more and do a little bit of digging. I know here at Spectrum, ISP engineers, networking engineer, supervisor, which is basically in a call center environment, and program managers. Rick, is there anything do you guys participate in the fellowship yet?
We're just getting into it, so I'm really looking forward to it. But yeah, it's going to be new to me.
It's a great program, definitely. So we got some more questions here that we can answer. So this individual spent the last 4 in an operations role. They have their bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering. What would you like to see from a candidate like themselves that they would be transferring back to the engineering world, but isn't fresh with the applied engineer as a recent college graduate? That's a really good question. Rick, did you want to kick us off on there?
Yeah, my first question, I mean, so the question would be, is this what you want to do, right? Is this what, you know, because I know a lot of service men and women that do things in the military that don't exactly, they want to continue doing that once they transition out. So it's you know, the first question for me would be, you know, is this what you want to continue doing? And the question is yes, then, you know, there's internship programs, which we mentioned earlier, you know, having you come in, you know, sitting down in the space of mechanical engineering here at SBA, and getting to know the team and spending a couple of weeks with them and seeing if this is really your cup of tea. And if so, then, you know, setting you up with a panel interview and setting you up. for success. We know here at SBA that the skills that you bring to the organization, right? I mean, you've gone out there, you fought for our country, so now, in return, we're gonna set you up for success, get you into the career you want, and set you up with mentorship as well here in the company, to help you transition, and that mentor is going to be a fellow veteran with our Veteran Connections ERG group. So it's a case by case basis, but and this goes to everyone on the call, but the program is in essence the same for all different careers. Come in, partner with a fellow veteran that is in the organization and let them guide you into the career of your choice, whether it's something you're doing now or something different you want to pursue.
JJ, anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I think again you have to look at how the company kind of like handles their engineering world. So we've actually had a lot of kind of college graduates, right, service members who got an engineering degree as an undergrad, and then obviously they joined the military and didn't do anything engineering related. So I think a lot of them are coming from like either service academies, right, or if you just got engineering undergrad. We do hire a lot of those into like a quality engineering role or like a technical project management role. So you're managing R&D projects. So obviously that's a project manager role, but it gives you the exposure to the engineering world to figure out if you like actually want to make that pivot into a design engineer or a manufacturing engineer, or something like that. And if you are trying to pivot directly from the service into a design engineer role, I would say what you would need is like a certification to show that you have the abilities to design, right, as an design engineer. So we're talking a professional engineer certification, or like an EIT, engineering training certification. Something like that to show the hiring manager that you still have the engineering knowledge to be able to do the job.
Awesome. All right. So as veterans, or soon to be veterans, we are very used to career progression. We know that when we enter the service, whether enlisted or officer, like we already know what we need to do, what billets we need to hold, what schools we need to go to progress in our military career. And I have to share that, in corporate America, sometimes that isn't as clear as what we're used to in the military. So would you guys be able to provide a couple of examples of how your organizations are laying out career progression and how they're demonstrating that with new hires? JJ, you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. So, I think this is a common thing within transitioning military service. I mean, for myself, especially, I'm expecting, hey, now I'm hired. Okay, what do I need to do to get promoted? How many years is it? Right. That's when I first joined Stryker. That was my initial thought. I expected to have that conversation with my hiring manager. My hiring manager at the time, also a veteran, and she was able to kind of coach me through the corporate process. There's not a timeline. You don't get promoted in 2 years or 3 years, right? It's based on performance. And then it's also based on, do you like your current department? Within Stryker, you're able to move into a different department if you'd like I did, right? I moved after 3 years. from supply chain into HR. So those are conversations that you need to be having with your manager and potentially with your HR business partner, you know, because they have a broader picture of what's available, you know, within your business as a whole, versus maybe your hiring manager is only for that specific department. Ask for developing assignments. If you see something that you like in another department, or maybe within your own department, but it's not your daily duties, ask to see if you can get on a project that's, you know, that other thing that you are interested in. And then that way you can figure out what you would like to do in the future and have that conversation with your hiring manager to plan out exactly what you need to do to be able to get into that role.
Couldn't have said it better. That's awesome. How about yourself, Rick?
I mean, seriously, is she reading this off the book? You know, we have a tool called Fuel 50 that we just implemented, and Fuel 50 basically maps out your career roadmap, so to speak. So based on your title and what department you're in, it will show you what's next, right? Whether it's up or even sideways, you know, a lateral move into a different department, like what JJ said earlier, it's still progression, right? So there's that here at SBA, but to JJ's point earlier, you know, it doesn't just happen like it does in the military. You know, you still got to perform, you still got to do it, and then partner with your HR business partner and really, you know, map out, you know, what you really want to do in your career, and you got to really do some soul searching and see if that's really your true career path, because there's nothing worse than, you know, doing all that and then realizing once you get there that that's not really your cup of tea. So you know, it's there. Some companies have it more mapped out than others, but in essence, it's on you. You know, you're at the driver's seat, and you have to make that happen for yourself.
Definitely, and I'll add to that is, you know, so here at Spectrum, we kind of have both sides of it. So if you're looking to step into a technician, engineer level role, even some of the human resource level roles, there's like, I'll use ISP engineer role as an example. So there's a ISP engineer 1, 2, 3, and 4, and those are what we refer to as non-compete roles. So you gain your certifications and you demonstrate those skills, and then you're certified by either your manager or a trainer, and you automatically get to progress from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. Our technicians work the same way, and that's clearly outlined for you. You have to do these certifications in order to make that happen. But on the flip side of that is in professional level roles, such as if you're a manager, you know, or up, you know, exactly what JJ and Rick was talking about. Like, how are you having those conversations with your leaders? Because it's not always clearly outlined. One thing that I take advantage of here at Spectrum is we have a mentorship program with our business resource group, our veteran business resource group. And I particularly asked for a non-veteran. I didn't want to be paired with another, you know, some people sat back and they scratched their head and they're like, Brian, why? Like, why wouldn't you want to be partnered with another veteran? And I was like, I want to better understand somebody that's not coming from a military background. And I've already learned so much information from this individual, how to be a better leader, different processes and procedures. They challenge my thinking, so on and so forth. But I think it's all about one thing. It's networking, getting your name out there, getting people to know who you are as an individual in the company. And naturally, people are going to start to pick you and be like, huh, I thought of JJ for this role. Let me take her from that team and see if we can offer this opportunity. So there's two more things I definitely want to touch on. We got 15 minutes, well, actually more 14 minutes, and I want to be able to do a quick end. Let's talk about salary. It's the elephant in the room, and let's face it, as individuals coming out of the military, it's public information. An O2 makes X amount of money, an E8 makes X amount of money. and it's not going to vary. There's no negotiation. And if there was, like, please tell me, because I'm sure there's some individuals that would like to know how to negotiate your salary. But let's talk about, salary and what that looks like. What can these individuals expect in terms of salary ranges for common roles? Let's talk about IT, cyber analysts, web designers, cloud management, something like that. Rick, can we start with you? You can kind of give us an idea of where that sits out.
I mean, it depends on experience. It depends on location, and it depends on your negotiation skills. So how we do it is we do a comp analysis for every role. We do it once a year. And of course, say New York, it's going to be a little bit different than South Florida or Texas and all that. So it really does depend, and it also depends on your experience. I don't know. It really is on a case by case. There's no specific, this is what it is kind of thing, because there's so many variables. How I coach and mentor my fellow veterans that are coming out are that really take your experience into consideration, not just what you've done, but also the stuff that you don't take into account that are also very, very valuable. The appetite to hire heroes or veterans is very high. So, I mean, what you've done matters, and that should go into the salary negotiation. So, I'll leave it at that because I know we're running out of time. So, JJ, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the one thing that a lot of veterans get stuck on is, oh, well, that person is an EA and I'm an EA, and they're coming out and they're getting this amount of money. Well, I should be getting that amount of money. It's not the same in the corporate world. Like engineering, I think by job family pays more than a lot of the other roles that are available that are out there. So I think when you're looking at salary, it's important to look at your job family, and it's important to look at the industry that you're in, right? Like if you're talking about a software engineer at Google or Facebook, they're going to pay a lot more than a software engineer at a much smaller company, for example. So it's very different. You do have to do your research. And I will also add that the bigger the company, the more set their ranges, I guess I should say that, right? So if you go to a startup, they'll probably pay you anything if they really, really want you, right? But if you go to a bigger company who has compensation control and internal equity control, they have to make sure that the pay is fair amongst all of their employees. So they're not going to just throw money at you because they think you're a great talent, because that's going to hurt them. It's potential, it's setting them up for a potential discrimination lawsuit in the future. So those are all things to consider. And again, it's not comparable to the military where everybody in the same rank makes the same amount of money. I think that's one thing that veterans need to be. It depends on the job family, and it depends on the type of company that you're in, how big, how small, and the industry that you're in.
Agreed, definitely. And the only thing that I'll add is, JJ had mentioned doing your research. So know the role that you're applying to, what the competitive nature of it is, and then ultimately where it's located at. So taking it a step further, so an engineer in San Francisco is not going to make the same as an individual in El Paso, Texas. Let's face it, regardless if you're both EAs, it's not going to happen. The other thing I would like to add to it was two other things. And right before we jumped on this panel, I was talking to a good friend of mine who actually was a senior leader of mine in the Marine Corps. And his comment was, well, Brian, I added together my base salary, I added together my BAH, my BAS, and my special duty pay, and it came out to this. Why am I not getting that? I have 3 job offers and it's all significantly less than that. And I was like, hey, I have to be honest with you that they don't care what you are making out of the military. We pay software engineers a certain amount of money based on location and skill sets. And to JJ's point, like, we have to make sure that it's fair across the board. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was just like, welcome to the civilian sector. So just keeping that in mind, make sure that you know the role, understand the location, not saying that you need to accept $20 an hour, but you need to keep in mind, otherwise you can turn them away. The other thing that I'd add is the benefits. And I had to learn this the hard way, is so many of us start to focus on that bottom line, but we fail to remember, like, our organizations have some really good benefits. You think about our 401k, here at Spectrum, it's 6% matching dollar for dollar, and then they give you an additional 3% on top of that they put into a separate account. Healthcare benefits, if you're an individual that's going to utilize healthcare benefits, we haven't raised healthcare costs in almost 7 years. I know there's people out there that pay thousands of dollars to be able to cover their family. So you want to take that into consideration and look at the whole picture. So we're almost up on time, but I want to close out before we just do our end statement is, so Hiring Our Heroes hosts several different career fairs across the United States and in a virtual environment, and even have some coming up here. So JJ, we'll start with you. Taking a look at candidates, what are things that they can do to prepare for these upcoming career fairs that we'll be at?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, if you're going to a career fair, especially if it's virtual, because there isn't that face-to-face interaction, if you have the time, if you can, chat with the recruiters who are there. I've been on, a slew of career fairs nowadays where people just pop in and they pop out, right? And we have recruiters who are sitting there waiting to speak with you. Take the time to build that connection, right? Networking is so important in the corporate world. If you have an opportunity to talk to somebody, whether it's in person or through chat, you should take that opportunity to do that. The other thing is, your resume is kind of like the first impression that you give to recruiters and hiring managers. So make sure that you have a solid resume to go with that. And I know Hiring Our Heroes, they run resume workshops and things like that. So those are kind of the 2 things that I want to say. If you're going to a career fair, make sure you talk to people, chat with the recruiters that are there, and make sure you have a great resume. And I'll throw it over to Rick to add what he thinks.
Yeah, and do your research. Recruiters have, double-digit jobs. They're constantly trying to fill, and it's very fluid, and there's 100 things going on, and it's fast and furious. So, if you come in and go, hey, I'm looking for this job. I know you got it posted. I know it's been open for this days. This is the kind of experience I have. It's going to be an easier conversation because you've already done your research. It's just like shopping at Amazon. You already know what you're looking for, and you've already done your research and so on. And then going back to JJ's point on the resume, it is super duper important that it looks good. It takes 5 seconds for a recruiter to go, yeah, and there you go, right? So keep it 2 pages, and keep it looking nice. It should flow, with your most recent experience, and just go down from there, and some bullets and with the most amazing experiences you've had, but don't overkill it with 3-4 pages, because nobody's gonna read that.
All great tips. The only thing that I would add is know the technology that they're going to be utilizing. So for the last year, there's been all these companies popping up offering virtual platforms and whatnot. And guess what? They all function differently. Luckily, I know Hiring Our Heroes partners with Brazen, which is a phenomenal platform that's very user-friendly. But I can tell you that there's platforms out there. You want to make sure that you understand whether it's chat-based, video-based, or voice-based. Because the last thing that you want is a recruiter being like, oh, I really like this individual. Hey, take a moment and let's get on camera. And you still haven't done your hair and you're in a t-shirt. So know the platform and ready to work for it. So we have got 2 minutes. So I'm going to toss it back over to Rick. Let's do last comments about our organizations and how we can connect with us.
I don't know if my contact information can be available to the team, but please feel free to share it. For me, it's a big deal hiring our heroes. So reach out to me directly. It's white glove service for SBA and for myself. Whether we have a position or not, I'll definitely point you in the right direction.
JJ?
Yeah, thank you. For Stryker, I think we, do participate in a lot of different military programs. Feel free, we have a military recruitment site on our careers page. So if you go to careers.stryker.com and go to our military recruitment tab, you can find more information there. Feel free also to reach out to us, militaryrecruiting@stryker.com. You can find this email address on our website, or if you're planning on attending the career fair later this week, you can connect with us through there, and feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. And I look forward to speaking with all of you and helping you guys transition.
Awesome. And then last, here at Spectrum, we have a team that's solely dedicated to military talent, both our military spouses as well as veterans and transitioning service members. Visit our career site, which is jobs.spectrum.com/military. There's all great ways that you can connect with the team, or just simply, I like to call it the old-fashioned way, shoot us an email, military@charter.com, and one of my military recruiters will reach out to you directly and correspond with you and see how that we can help you. So with that being said, Brett, do we have anything else?
No, and thanks, Brian, and thank you all for giving us your time here today on this panel. It was a lot of really good information. We appreciate you lending your expertise and taking all these questions today. For those of you who attended today, thank you so much for joining us. We do have several sessions coming up in the next couple of weeks. You're more than welcome to attend those as well to get yourself prepared for those hiring fairs that we talked about earlier. And those should be popping on the screen any moment now. So take an opportunity, take a screenshot of this if you'd like. I'll also invite our panelists, if you don't mind, if you could put your contact information into the chat. That would be very helpful. Just select all panelists and attendees there. And that way folks can get a hold of you. Once again, we appreciate you all coming out. Be sure to catch one of these upcoming events, and we will see you in the future. Thanks so much, everybody. And thank you, Brian, JJ, and Rick. Have a great day, everybody.